G'day, Mick from Total Performance Centre here. Just furthering on from the previous video on looking at knee pain. So knee pain, quite often what we're talking about, patellofemoral syndrome. But what happens quite often with knee pain is, as I was saying, was muscle inequities or strength differences between the two. When we start talking about meniscus damage or anything like that as well, quite often what's happening is there's a difference between the lower leg and the upper leg, and what I mean by that is there's twisting going on and rotation happening at the knee. So the knee is basically a hinge joint, so it's not meant to hinge or rotate. The joints above and below are, so at the ankle at the talus and the hip at the hip bone. Both of those are a joint that's meant to have rotation in them. And if you don't have rotation in either of those joints, well, the joints either side of them end up having to do the rotation. So when we're dealing with meniscus knee pain or something along those lines, quite often you've lost rotation in the ankle, especially for runners and stuff like that, people who are in safety boots for long periods of time, or people that have been put in orthotics where the arch isn't allowed to move up and down, or if you've sprained your ankle quite a few times, you get a lot of scar tissue built up in through there. So what we're going to do today is I'm just going to show you a quick exercise or two to actually start to look at, one, getting the talus to move, so getting rotation. It's also a really good balance exercise, and what it does is it basically teaches the joint at the talus to start to rotate, because if it can rotate there, the body recognises that it doesn't need to rotate through the knee because you get that range of motion. So if we get rotation here, doesn't have to rotate there, we can continue moving that knee through a straight plane of motion. All right. So first thing we're going to do, I call these clocks. Okay. So they're as they sound. So we stand nice and straight, and you go through a range of motion. So forward. I'll go back, and you watch that. The now front foot stays nice and steady. So you go, so it's 12 o'clock, and then I'm going to go in my clock, so we go 1, and the whole time, 2, I'm keeping that front foot steady, alright? You can lift the heel up or anything like that, but what we're trying to do is we keep that front leg nice and straight, okay? And all the time, what that's teaching is it's moving, or it's teaching the talus how to move through 360 degrees of rotation, which it's meant to be able to. So if they're there, then I go backwards. See how there I get a bit stuck? So what I'll do is take a slightly smaller step and teach my body how to get there, how to find that balance in that area. And then all of a sudden it starts to become normal because the rotation starts to come into through that bone. The brain starts to learn how to do it, and then I'll move on. The whole time keeping that big toe planted on the floor. So I'll do that as a bit of a dynamic warm-up, just to really, and I can feel the difference between before I did the first one and that last one. That feels a lot better.